Hi everyone, my name is Nicola, and I'm very excited to introduce you to a week in China, which we are running on our series, Let's Talk About Change. So for this discussion, the first episode, we are going to talk just a little bit of background around where Anneli stays. Anneli lives in China, and we are doing this week series with her to get her insights from China, specifically related to the lockdown. So Anneli, thank you so much for joining us. If you can start off with just introducing yourself, who you are and where you're currently living.
Hi Nicola, it's very nice to talk with you. I was actually planning to see you in person in January, but that didn't work out. So at least we can see each other this way. So my name is Anneli van Schoor. I'm an English teacher, and I would call myself an avid student of Chinese culture, and also a little bit the language now. Extremely difficult, but I'm determined. I have been in Tongxiang, the city where I live, for the past 11 years. Tongxiang city is part of Zhejiang province. It's in the north of Zhejiang. Zhejiang is a east coast province in China. It's not very far from Shanghai. And this area is known for its textiles, woolens, leather, silk, especially silk. Tongxiang city is industrialized now. I heard that 30, 40 years ago it was just small farms, but now it's quite industrialized. But the most famous thing in Tongxiang, for me, is Wuzhen. It's part of Tongxiang city. It's an old restored water town. They call them water towns. You can think Venice, but of course much smaller. And it's a very beautifully restored old town, and now getting really famous for the International Wuzhen Theatre Festival every year. It's about 6 years old now. And the World Internet Conference, also annually, also about 6 years old. So it's a very interesting place to live. I'm very happy that I can live here.
Okay, wonderful. Thanks so much, Anneli. You're reminding me now of the great time that when I visited you, and the beautiful silk scarves that I bought, and the water town that we visited together. It really is beautiful. I was very impressed with China and the Chinese people. So I wanted to ask you your second question. So obviously we're in lockdown at the moment, and there's been a lot of stories about Wuhan, where the first case was discovered of COVID-19. So just give us a sense of how far you live from Wuhan. So in terms of where your city is that you're staying and where Wuhan is.
Wuhan is the capital of Hubei province, and Hubei province is in the middle of China. I actually have a former student. She was in high school here, and she's now a student in Wuhan University. She came back before the lockdown in January, and I asked her for the exact kilometers. She says it's 600 kilometers from Tongxiang.
Okay. So I mean, China is massive. I mean, if we have to compare it to how big South Africa is and Africa is, how do the two compare if you look at the size of China, just roughly?
Difficult for me. Maybe South Africa is as big as one province in China.
Yeah, makes
Probably.
sense. Yeah. So how long would it take you to travel to Wuhan? Have you ever traveled there?
I have never been to Wuhan. My student says it takes, 600 kilometers. It takes about half a day on the high-speed rail, which goes at 300 kilometers per hour.
Wow, awesome. Okay, so you've never been to Wuhan?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Very interesting. Thanks, Anneli. So then my last question is just, where were you just before the lockdown started?
Where were I? It's a very long story. Do you have enough time?
Okay, so you were you were not close to Wuhan. I think that's the main thing.
I planned in January to go with a friend to her brother's wedding in Sichuan province. Sichuan province is in the west of China, and quite far from us, there is a direct train, of course, the high-speed rail, takes 12 hours from Tongxiang to Chongqing. Chongqing is a sort of a city-state. In China, they have three. One is Shanghai, one is Tianjin in the north, and then Chongqing in the west. So they're actually a province on their own, but it's just a city. So we had to take the high-speed rail for 12 hours to Chongqing, then transfer to another train to get to her hometown. So it just took us the whole day to get there. I was planning to stay there for only 5 days and then come back to Tongxiang because I already booked a ticket to South Africa for the 29th. So went to the wedding, came back to Chongqing, and then took the train back to Tongxiang. I must just tell you that this train goes through Hubei province, not through Wuhan as such, but through Hubei province. So just
which is the province which Wuhan is in?
It's the province, Wuhan is the capital. Anyway, so the train has to go through there.
You didn't stop and get out?
No, it was not. At that stage, we already knew that there was probably a problem, but it wasn't that much in the news. People were talking, but
Okay.
it wasn't made a. So it was sort of not. People were not really worried, I think. So came back to Tongxiang on the 21st of January, and then we already got some news that when you've traveled outside of Zhejiang, my province, you should, when you arrive back, you should stay home, sort of isolate yourself. It wasn't, you were not told to definitely do it, but it was suggested. It would be better for you to watch yourself for about a week or something. So I stayed inside. Then on the 24th, on the 23rd, very big shock to all of us, Wuhan was locked down.
This is all January.
Yes. And then I was starting to get worried because, of course, I was going to go to South Africa the next week. That Saturday, 2 days after that, 2 days after that, on the 25th, Zhejiang declared emergency level 1. And of course, then everything started to stop. The public transport, there was just minimal buses available. And I have, if I want to go to Shanghai to catch a flight, I have to first take the bus to the train station, then take the train to Shanghai, then go on the subway to Pudong Airport. So I have to take public transport. So it was going to get to be difficult. I was still thinking I'm going to go. So I called the station and they said that my train is going to go and my flight is going to still leave. There were some rumors that Cathay Pacific in Hong Kong is going to minimize flights, but nothing was confirmed. But when Zhejiang started to say that, and people around me were saying, and the school was saying, it's not a good idea, maybe to travel now. And I was thinking how difficult it would be for me to get there, to even get to Shanghai, and then maybe from there, because they were already closing some of the subway lines. There's 2 subway lines that go through from the Hongqiao hub, transport hub, through to Pudong on the other side of Shanghai. They were already closing the one. And then it dawned on me that maybe it's better for me not to go. So I called the airline and I canceled my ticket. And this is how I am being here for the whole time.
Wow, very interesting. I look forward to having another conversation with you. Thank you, Anneli.
My big pleasure. Nice to see you.